Okay, we're joined now by our men's national team reporter, Matthew Scianitti. He's in Romania. Matthew, what do we need to know about Canada entering this window? They face Romania Friday. They face Wales on Tuesday.
Well, now it's time for a response from the men's national team, because certainly we look back at the Gold Cup and that loss to Guatemala in the quarterfinals, and there really has been an inquiry in the media about Jesse Marsch's decisions, and Jesse Marsch has talked about his decisions, especially after Jacob Schaffberg got that red card, but that's in the past now. What we're looking ahead to is really the last 5, 6, 7, 8 games before Canada is going to host their first game of the Men's World Cup at BMO Field next June. And it starts now, and they're going to be playing teams that are in their neighborhood in the world rankings. Canada is 28th. They're going to face Romania this week, who are 48th, and then they're going to face Wales, who are 31. But then you look at the window in October, and it's Australia and Colombia. Then you look at the window in November, and it's Ecuador. And the time gets shorter and shorter, and that competition is going to be tough for a reason, because Jesse Marsch is going to want to see who he has in some key positions. And as we talk about the race for the roster, it kind of starts now, really, because Jesse Marsch did a lot of tinkering in the Gold Cup to try to see his depth, to see who he has in particular situations. That window to experiment is getting smaller and smaller, so some of those key matchups, who partners Jonathan David up top, what does central midfield look like, what does central defense look like, and obviously key, who's playing in net. Over the course of the next few months, those are going to have to sort themselves out to make sure Canada is ready to host the Men's World Cup.
Okay, Matthew, we know Kyle Larin's not with the team. His wife is due to give birth this week. How big an opportunity do you see this for the other strikers to showcase themselves?
Certainly the priority for Kyle Larin is to be there for his wife for the birth of their new child, but it can also be true that this is a missed opportunity for him because, as I already said, the window of opportunity to show what you have to Jesse Marsch, to make sure that he's picking you in his starting 11 for the World Cup, those opportunities are getting smaller and smaller. So this does present Tani Oluwaseyi another opportunity, as he had in June during the Gold Cup, to show Jesse Marsch, coming off of his sensational move to Villarreal, that he can be the guy next to Jonathan David. But it's also a chance for Promise David. He hasn't been starting for Union Saint-Gilloise, the champions of Belgium, but he is still scoring. He has a knack for coming off the bench and scoring. He has a great finishing touch. Will he show that in this window? But then there's also an opportunity for Theo Bair, who's kind of been really on the outs with this team since last summer. Does he get his one opportunity coming back here to show something? That's what happens when someone like Kyle Larin, who really has been praised by Jesse Marsch as being the complete striker for him in this system. When he's not here, Marsch has to see who his options are. And if those options present him something that he likes alongside Jonathan David, then that certainly is a missed opportunity for Kyle Larin.
And I guess the other big story is who will be Canada's starting goalkeeper for the World Cup next summer. How much should we read into who gets the start for these 2 games in Europe?
Yeah, let me go back to my first answer on this one, because I ended off talking about how important that matchup is to see who Canada's #1 goalkeeper is going to be, and it is still true. But I'm not getting a sense, just having been here for a few hours off the plane, that there is any urgency that in this window they're going to decide who Canada's #1 goalkeeper is going to be. But there is still a lot on the line for Maxime Crépeau, not only with his men's national team, but we have seen with the Portland Timbers that he's not playing regularly. He's not starting, and when he does, he's made some mistakes. And then obviously Dane St. Clair is Minnesota United's #1 goalkeeper, but he's also coming off the disappointment of that quarterfinal loss, losing in the penalty shootout to Guatemala. And then there's this new element in Jaden Hibbert, who's coming off of 2 back-to-back clean sheets in MLS. He seems to be the heir apparent for Atlanta United if they do move on for Brad Guzan in the offseason. So what does he show in training? I'm not getting the sense that he's going to play in any of these games, but this is still an ongoing and evolving situation. But like all of these matchups that I've already talked about, particularly with the goalkeeper, to get a guy in the net, to make sure that he feels secure, that he feels like it's his net, that time is coming. It may not be now, it may not be in October, it may not be in November. But when Canada gets into 2026, and we're just a few months away, they're going to need to know who their #1 goalkeeper is. But if it's Maxime Crépeau that starts against Romania and Dane St. Clair that starts against Wales, that's pretty much par for the course as it has been over the last year. But we're getting to that point where Jesse Marsch is going to need to make a decision.
That's TSN's Matthew Scianitti from Romania.